Sanjay, what are you doing there?
Oh, hey Gab, this is just a flyer for a new research project we're doing.
Oh, what's it about?
It's an investigation into the effects of satiety on different protein sources in healthy females. We're using chicken and tofu as the main sources.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it is. Let my colleagues tell you more about it.
The rate of obesity has more than doubled in the last 40 years and is estimated that 1.9 billion adults aged 18 and over are overweight or obese. Obesity is linked with many acute and chronic diseases, including diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and is an outcome when energy intake exceeds energy output. We know that satiety and satiation plays a big role in appetite and influences our food intake. Protein and fiber are highly satiating nutrients which help increase our fullness and can potentially decrease the consumption of energy-dense, nutritionally poor foods which contribute to obesity. Currently, only 14% of Australians meet their daily requirements for lean meats and alternatives, with 1/3 of their energy intake coming from discretionary foods. A study conducted by Sachs et al. 2009 investigated the effects of different macronutrient compositions on weight loss and found that diets high in protein achieved the most weight loss. Although we know that protein is not the main source of energy in the diet, and a high protein diet could potentially lead to increased feelings of hunger if not enough carbohydrates are consumed. Protein sources from a vegetarian diet, on the other hand, are an excellent example of whole foods high in both protein and fiber, making them highly satiating. We hypothesized that consuming a more satiating source of protein would lead to an increase in feeling of fullness and reduce their cravings for energy-dense foods. We aim to test different protein sources in the diet and their effects on appetite, primarily focusing on vegetarian and meat sources of protein. There is an increased interest in investigating the effects of dietary protein on satiety and appetite, most of which focus on weight loss. These studies primarily focus on the effects of protein quantities, with little investigation in the effects of animal versus plant-based protein. These studies have limitations such as not taking frequent visual analog scale recordings, a short intervention time period of less than 2 weeks, not including a washout period, and not assessing whether satiety increase was an effect of protein quantity or protein quality. Investigating protein quality is a newly emerging topic with very little studies conducted on animal versus plant-based protein. The studies that have been conducted have only examined beef versus soy protein, and with another study examining the effects of protein quality in non-whole foods. The limitations noted from these studies claims that assessing appetite from quality of protein sources was difficult due to the high quantity of protein which interfered with the results, and suggested further studies should test protein meals at lower quantities. Therefore, we wish to investigate the effects of appetite and satiety on protein quality, focusing on chicken versus soy as a source of protein. Our target audience will be young, healthy adult women, as previous studies have focused on males as their audience, so we wish to investigate the effects on females as there is limited information in this field.
There will be 20 young, healthy female participants gathered for the experiment. Advertisements will be placed in local newspapers and flyers will also be distributed around the university, local GP surgeries and gyms. Participants will need to make contact with researchers via email or phone to express interest in the experiment, and written consent will be needed. All eligible participants will be randomly assigned to one of two groups, either chicken or tofu being the primary source of protein throughout the duration of the experiment. The first week of the studies, subjects will be asked to maintain their usual diet. Every waking hour, they will be required to record their level of hunger on a digitally based 10-point visual analog scale, with 1 representing ravenous, 6 being neither hungry nor full, and 10 representing severe fullness and discomfort. They will also be asked to digitally record their diet in a weighed food record for 4 of the 7 days of this initial control week, and will meet with a dietitian at the beginning of this period. The next part of the experiment will involve the participants following a 7-day menu revolving around the allocated protein source, either chicken or tofu. FoodWorks and the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating will be used to ensure each menu meets the recommendations for protein, fat and carbohydrate. Subjects will be asked to follow this 7-day menu for a period of 2 weeks. Subjects will be again asked to digitally complete a visual analog scale every waking hour, and also a weighed food record for 7 days of the 14-day experimental period. At the conclusion of this time, a dietitian will interview each participant to gain a greater understanding of the experiences for the participants. The entire experiment will take an estimated 12 to 13 weeks to complete. 2 weeks are needed for developing aspects of the experiment, like posters, developing the 7-day menu, the website, and gaining ethical approval. Another 2 weeks will be needed for recruiting our potential participants. It will take 1 week to screen the subjects, obtain consent, and for the participants to have their initial interview with the dietitian. The control week section of the experiment will take 1 week. It will take another 2 weeks of the actual experiment involving chicken or tofu protein sources. Following the actual experiment, it will take approximately 2 weeks to analyse the data with the assistance of a statistician. And finally, 2 to 3 weeks needed to compile the data and write the final paper. The cost of conducting this experiment will be approximately $10,060. Aspects including cost of food, website development, statistician consultation, dietitian consultations, cost of voice recorder, photocopying, food work software, phone calls and newspaper advertisements were all considered.
Hey, what you were saying sounded really cool. Can you tell me more about your data management?
Sure thing. So we're using FoodWorks to analyse our food data. We'll be using SPSS to analyse all our statistical information. We'll be using Excel to make some graphs and tables, and using EndNote at the end to make sure all our referencing is intact.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
What about your inclusion criteria?
And your exclusion.
Great question, my inclusion and exclusion criteria. Well, let me tell you about them. Our inclusion criteria, you must be a female, able to eat chicken or tofu, and be within the healthy BMI range. And our exclusion criteria contains males, vegetarians, vegans, and lactating or pregnant women.
Tell me about your ethical considerations.
Yeah, sure thing. So first of all, we need consent from our subjects to participate in the study, and our subjects can also withdraw at any time of their choosing. Also, the inclusion and exclusion criteria and the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating will ensure that the experimental diets will not cause any dietary health implications. Also, our methods for collecting data are non-invasive and easy, and our participants can also go about their daily routine and will be compensated for any food that they purchase for our study.
Great. Are there any limitations?
Oh, great question. Actually, we have. So we do have a relatively small sample size, and we need to make sure that the study can last longer than 2 weeks. Also, it needs to be maintained over a period of time, and also without supervision eventually as well. So we need to take those into consideration. Also, we need to have a look at, we can only use 2 protein sources, so there's a limited variation of different menus that our participants can cook.
Looks like you've considered a lot.
Thank you. So that's the proposal for our research project. If you feel like you'd be interested and willing to participate, give me a call.